Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, saluting Earth Day on April 22nd with an ongoing commitment to help offset carbon emissions with sustainable harvesting of Missouri forests. Details at choosewood.com.
Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Jim Kircher. If you're looking for variety in your new restaurants to try this month, our friends from Sauce Magazine have it for you in this month's hit list. Joining me to talk about the new openings in the region, our Sauce Magazine managing editor, Catherine Klene, and staff writer, Matt Sorrell. Later, we'll touch base with local chef honored by the James Beard Foundation. We'll be talking to him as well. Catherine, Matt, thanks for coming by today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's talk about, not openings, but let's talk about a closing that's hit a lot of people, the Goody Goody Diner.
Yeah.
A landmark in this town had a fire. What's the status? What's the story?
Right now, it is still up in the air. I don't have any information as far as when it's going to reopen. The intention, as far as I can tell, is to reopen. They had it looks like some sort of an electrical fire that happened a couple weeks ago now. Yeah. And unfortunately, they are closing. But in the interim, the folks over at Breakaway Cafe, have actually started breakfast hours, so they can kind of assume some of those breakfast customers who are used to eating over Goody Goody. And they're also helping out and letting some of the staff members work there in the interim while we figure out what's going on.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Goody Goody Diners on Natural Bridge has been there a long time, I guess, right?
Very long time. At least, I want to say 60 years.
Something. Yeah, I think that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, good for them. I hope things work out.
Absolutely.
It's kind of interesting to see the restaurant community backing each other up on this.
That's one thing we really do see around the local community is, there's competition for sure, and it's only getting tighter. But everybody's willing to kind of help each other out. It's competition without rancor. Let's say that.
Yeah, you're not necessarily wanting to drive the other guy out of business, but you don't want to lose your customers either.
Exactly. It's the rising tide floats all boats for sure.
Right. So let's talk about the three restaurants on this month's Sauce Hit List. Tonight is a big night also for a local chef being honored by the James Beard Foundation. And we'll be talking about that. But let's go through the list here. Bull Rush, tell me about that.
Sure.
Catherine.
So Bull Rush is the long-awaited restaurant from Chef Rob Conley. Rob is a James Beard nominated chef who used to got his nomination for Best Chef Southwest for his work at, I believe it was called Kumquat. Is that correct?
In New Mexico.
In New Mexico, yeah. So he came back to St. Louis, which is where he's from originally, and he's been here for about 3 years now. And he's been working toward this concept, Bull Rush, which is a concept which creates food from the Ozarks circa the mid-1800s, reimagined in a fine dining context. So this chef has gone through a lot of research to really understand what food was like in Missouri during that time period. He does a lot of foraging. He works with a lot of very native to Missouri ingredients. And then he sort of puts his fine dining elevated spin on it. So Bull Rush is on Washington near Urban Chestnut, near Grand Center. And there's two ways you can dine there. You can have a full course, seven course full tasting menu, or you can dine at the bar, and that's a la carte. But the tasting menu, Matt, you experienced this. Seems like really the way to experience this concept.
Yeah, if you have the time, it takes a couple hours to get through everything. But the tasting menu is really fantastic, and Rob's also doing some interesting things. Like he forages a lot of his own ingredients. In fact, I would say that probably the majority of them, he and his sous chef, Justin. So that's an interesting point. But also they are doing all-inclusive billing. So there's no gratuity. It's like they're paying a good wage so they can basically have everything all-inclusive. And they're also a really good bar program that includes a lot of great non-alcoholic drinks, which is a trend that we've been seeing a lot here lately in St. Louis, and they've really elevated it. A lot of the house-made ingredients are really fantastic.
I would think a lot of people would react as I do to the term Ozark cuisine. But it's an interesting concept. Can you explain a little bit about what?
Well, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about foraging. So it's extremely seasonal because they're only going to do things that actually are available right now. For example, when I was there, they used pawpaw, and they made that into a caviar, as well as they used it as a syrup in one of the cocktails. So it's a lot of times we think Ozark cuisine and we might think it's extremely rural, extremely rustic, and maybe not that great. But it's basically just cuisine that's been sourced extremely locally and seasonally, which is something we see all the time anyway. But
I mean, I would think fish and game, or am I not
yeah,
thinking
well, yeah,
right?
absolutely. When I was there, they did have some great venison on there. That Justin, actually, that's his purview. So yeah, definitely, game is an aspect of that.
One of the things that I thought was interesting is when I went for a first look with the chef, one of the things that he brought out was an oyster dish. And oysters are definitely not something that I would associate with the Ozark region. I'm not sure I want a Mississippi River oyster. But he explained that during the time period that he's focused on, which is from around the 1820s to the 1870s, so that 50-year window, trade was incredibly prolific. So we were getting a ton of oysters coming up from the Gulf. And then they were bringing them up the river, and then people were commonly serving them in cuisine. And so that's sort of the time period as well that he's focusing on, not just things that can be foraged and grown here, but also things that were brought into the area at that time.
I love the idea of a meal and a history lesson.
And Rob has more knowledge of that time period than I think anybody else. And the cool thing about this dining experience is you're sitting there's two sort of L-shaped bars in the dining room, and they are circled around a small kitchen where Rob and sous chef Justin prepare the entire meal. And as they serve it, they talk to you about each course, and they'll tell you about the history and why this particular ingredient matters and where this particular thing was foraged from and how it works with these particular dishes. It's a really cool, unique experience, especially if you're a history nerd.
Right, and that's Bull Rush on Washington,
Absolutely.
right? Yes. Right. So tell me, Matt, Dubliner? The Dubliner?
The Dubliner. So the Dubliner was a very popular restaurant down on Washington Avenue. Closed a few years back, 4 years ago, I think the original one closed. And so they have reopened in Maplewood on Sutton. For those of you who are familiar with the Muddled Pig, it was the former location of the Muddled Pig. And basically really, really good pub food. And, when you think of pub food, obviously you think super simple and sometimes maybe not that great, but filling and, good with the beer.
Some people might say really good pub food is like Ozark cuisine. They've never, put the two together.
Exactly. And so when I went there, they have a lot of favorites that fans from the original incarnation are going to remember. They have bangers and mash. They have a really good shepherd's pie. The last time I was there, I had their fish and chips, which I would put up against any fish and chips in the city and probably the region. It's just really good. It was extremely fresh cod. And the batter was nice and golden brown. It was just a nice consistency. And, it wasn't soggy, which is sometimes you get with that particular dish. You just really good, straight ahead, simple food, but made with the, really good ingredients and skill.
And a decent beer menu.
Very good decent beer. You can definitely get a Guinness.
Yeah, okay. Well, that'll interest a lot of people.
Yes.
And number 3 on the list, Bagel Champ.
Correct. So Bagel Champ is actually a bit different than what we usually cover for Hit List. This is a sort of pop-up concept inside an existing restaurant. So Bird and Barrel, which is located on Jefferson near Cherokee towards South City, is known for their fried chicken. They opened a few years ago. That's what they've been doing. That's their concept. But they're also, the kitchen got really into making bagels and really trying to make a quality like New York style bagel. And so they made so many of them that they decided to sort of test out the concept on brunch weekends. So they do a pop-up Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 2. You can go and get bagel sandwiches, and they change every week, so you never know quite what you're going to get. The breakfast sausage, egg, and cheese, sort of a classic bagel sandwich, is pretty readily available, but they're also doing a lot of different collaborations. So they've done a collaboration with Joya's Deli, Pie Guy Pizza, Gorilla Street Food. Citizen Cane's is one that I tried, and it was a really good steak collaboration on a bagel. It was a very decadent breakfast that day. And the idea is that, Bob Brazel, who owns Bird and Barrel and Bagel Champ, does hope to open a Bagel Champ brick and mortar eventually, have its own location. But he's just still testing out the concept and testing out the recipes. For now, the bagels are only available as sandwiches, but he does hope to eventually offer them by the dozen and half dozen for people to take home and make throughout the week. It's just a matter of sort of keeping up with demand and supply right now. So
yeah, it's really been hitting hard. I was actually going to go the other day, and it was so packed. I had to make another trip. So
you mentioned authentic bagels. So we've had the great bagel debate.
Yes.
and people who've had New York bagels, or if they've had them in other cities, know that we have a lot of bread that's shaped like bagels, but these are more authentic.
Definitely, yeah. These are the traditional sort of kettle prepared where they're boiled and then
boiled
baked.
First, yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of people messing around with bagels right now. We were just talking about the other day at the office. Pizza Head chef owner Scott Sandler did a pop-up with Vicia this weekend called Bagel Brain. He's been messing around with bagels. We've seen some other, just sort of popping up on Instagram, chefs playing around with it, really trying to perfect that New York bagel. So we're hoping that that's indicative of future restaurant concepts to come, because I think St. Louis is pretty excited for more bagel options in the area.
We have some great bakers in town, so there's no reason why we can't have the best bagels.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Well, you brought up Vicia, and joining us on the phone now is Michael Galena, who's in Chicago, anticipating the James Beard Foundation Awards with his wife Tara tonight. They both own the oft-lauded Vicia, located in the Cortex District in the Central West End. And among other honors, last year Galena was named to Food and Wine's annual list of best chefs in America. And tonight, you're up for award, Best Chef Midwest. Michael, thanks for joining us. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty incredible. Yeah, it feels great.
Yeah, so tell me about this award. I know I've always hear James Beard Awards, and you guys can all help me with this, but, how do you get nominated for something like this?
I think just by really, hard work and a great team. I mean, I think it's a real reflection on how great of a team that we've got and how hard we push every single day to create the best restaurant we possibly can.
So you guys, Catherine, what kind of an impact has this restaurant had? I mean, I hear a lot of people talking about this, and I'm not out there like you guys are.
Absolutely. I mean, to put it in the sort of shorthand that we always tell people when it comes to the James Beard Awards is these are essentially the Academy Awards of the food industry. These are truly the best of the best. All convening on one night to really kind of recognize excellence. So for the fact that Vicia has been and Chef Galena have been recognized for the work that they're doing at this level is truly wonderful, and it's great not just for them but for our city as well. We're really excited for that, and it's a really huge honor. We've only had 2 James Beard winners in St. Louis so far, Gerard Kraft and then Kevin Nashin 2 years ago. So we're excited to hopefully make that 3 tonight. But no, it's really is a huge honor, not just for Vicia, but also for St. Louis. So we're very excited to see what happens tonight.
So Michael, people who haven't been to that restaurant, tell me a little bit about it. What's the concept? Everybody's got a concept. What are you doing there?
I mean, I think we're just a celebration of what comes in from the farms each day. I mean, we took a lot of time to kind of build relationships with farmers and, people that are doing great things in the city. And, we just try to do our best at, showcasing them. It's the vegetable, the farmers do a really incredible job of putting a lot of care into the soil, into what they do. And, we really just try to showcase that.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about your career, how you got started in this and then moved into what you're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, I was away from St. Louis for about 15 years. I moved out to California for culinary school and worked with Daniel Hahn at Campton Place, and was fortunate enough to, when he took over at 11 Mountain Park in New York, I kind of moved there with him. And after about a year or so there, I met Dan Barber and really kind of transformed to, me to who I am right now. So I worked at Blue Hill, New York in the city for about 4.5 years and ran Blue Hill at Stone Barns for about 4 years.
And it's strong on vegetables, but not vegetarian. Am I right?
Yeah, but I mean, I think we just like to have fun with vegetables and kind of be as creative as possible with them. But yeah, we use lots of different. We get a whole pig each week. We work with Bolyard's meat to kind of basically split a whole steer every week. So we just kind of try to utilize everything we possibly can from that with no waste. And whether it's vegetables cooked in animal fat or, different cuts that, maybe people, aren't necessarily used to. Like, we don't use a whole lot of pork loin. We use more like jowls and bellies and different things that, hopefully that are delicious, but maybe people aren't necessarily used to eating all the time.
Well, they always say it's an honor just to be nominated, but you'd like to win, but it is an honor to be nominated, to get this sort of attention. I don't know if that's what you look for when you get into this. It's probably the unexpected reward because you're probably doing it for other reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I love what I do, and I really enjoy working with my wife, and I'm just happy. Our goal every day is just to be there and give the guests a great experience. So everything else is just an added bonus, and it really is, I think, just a true reflection on our team, because it's my name on the award, it's our restaurant on the award, but it's our dream, but they every day work so hard to turn it into a reality.
Catherine and Matt, what do these sorts of nominations and awards do for, let's say, first of all, the local scene, because it raises certain awareness for people who are out there exploring, but it also raises the city's reputation, and we're getting some, we're getting some press.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't think there's really a downside to it. There's, it brings, a lot of honor and respect and attention to a scene that's really, really, I used to say it's a burgeoning scene. I think it's burgeoned already. I think we have a full blown, top notch culinary scene, and Vicia is one of those places that's just, helped us, to be the pinnacle. And I will say, just as an aside, Michael and Tara and all their staff, it is a great experience. I've been there many times. They have probably like one of the best lunch deals in town. Also, it's not, people think fine dining, and that's true, but they do have a more casual aspects to it as well. So it's really something for everybody over there.
Yeah, what do you like to get? I mean, there must be, I know you guys want to try everything and say everything is good, but you must have some favorites.
The cool thing about Vicia is that the dishes really do change so frequently because it really is available. It's what's available seasonally and what chef wants to really, what he gets from the farmers, and he makes use of what they have as opposed to saying, I need this for the next 3 months. And that's what makes it such a cool and dynamic and changing experience every time that you go. That lunch deal is one of my favorites because you can go and get, it's that pick 2, pick 3 mentality that you're thinking of, but with just that quality and that level of food, which is really, really great.
Yeah. It's definitely a place where everybody says we're farm to table, we're sustainable. I mean, those are all buzzwords that we hear all the time. But at that restaurant, it is not lip service. They mean when they say farm to table, it is farm to table.
Yeah, Michael, your wife, Tara's general manager of the restaurant. It's a family business. I'm not sure if that's a good thing for a marriage or not a good thing for a marriage.
Oh, it is. I'm dragging her on stage tonight if we win this thing. So she deserves half of it. And, she's my complete inspiration, and my daughter, Olivia, that was born 8 months ago. It's like they make me want to wake up every single day and just like work harder and be a better person and be a better chef. And it's an incredible opportunity to get to do this all with her.
Yeah, the service there is interesting as well. The approach to the service at your restaurant.
Yeah, and just to echo on lunch. I mean, lunch I'm actually more excited sometimes about than dinner, just because I do think it's a way to like really showcase what we're doing in front of people, because it's the same ingredients. It's just if we cut something one way at dinner, like there's all those leftovers that can go into soup or grain salad or different things, or different cuts of the animal that we can kind of the legs of our pigs always go into ham sandwiches and things like that. So yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, this is the thing, and I think people, cooks, chefs are creative people, and that's why you're in this. Were you like in the kitchen when you were like 6 years old or 10 years old, or is this something that came around later?
It came around later. I mean, I went to the University of Missouri. I kind of always wanted to be a baseball player growing up, or like do other things. I always enjoyed cooking. I loved cooking with my grandfather. Just for holidays and different events and stuff like that. And then I just wasn't loving being at Mizzou or going, being in school anymore. And I kind of thought of like, what else, would I be excited about doing? And I moved to San Francisco and went to culinary school and met some really incredible people. And, the rest is history.
Yeah, but there's no real time. I mean, my understanding when you do this, this becomes your life, does it not?
Oh, it does. I mean, yeah. I think every waking second we're thinking about the restaurant, how we can do better, and maintain, what we're doing, and, be better for our staff and our team and build more. So, yeah, I definitely think it's a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week job.
Catherine and Matt, this is a restaurant that sort of sits apart. I mean, there are some restaurants that fall into a certain category. Does this fall into a category, or has it created its own category? I
mean, that's a good question because, obviously there's a fine dining aspect to it. But I would say it's a fine dining aspect that doesn't have that typical white tablecloth stuffiness that is so often associated. And again, they have a really good lunch program where you can go in there and get a really good lunch for not too much money. And but it's not fast casual either. So it's a really interesting amalgamation.
That's the fun thing with fine dining right now is it's not really that fine dining that you think about. It's not that white tablecloth and jackets and ties anymore. It's a little more relaxed. It's a little more real. It's a lot more focused on the food and the experience and having a good time. I guess the term New American Cuisine is very broad and for a reason. But no, it's definitely one of those restaurants that's very forward and of the moment right now in the fine dining scene.
Yeah, I'm happy with the fine dining food aspect of it, but not always the coat and tie aspect. So
Right.
I like those.
No,
I like those
I
approaches.
think we always really, 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 like, our number one goal was to be approachable to everybody.
Absolutely.
I mean, we really strive to not create like a stuffy atmosphere. Our main goal was to really, connect people with where their food comes from and have just like work with the best ingredients that we possibly could, but also, to not have like over $100 tasting menu. Our tasting menu is $85. We do another menu that's called our Farmer's Feast, which is basically a whole, combination of the entire a la carte menu, which is $55 a person. And lunch is, pick 2 for $12 or pick, 3 for $15. And it's never been a goal of ours. We don't care about money. We care about like really connecting people with, good food and good product. And that's been a lot more important to us than anything else.
So at some point when you're going to open a restaurant, you have to pick a name. How did you come up with the name?
Oh gosh, that's hard. I don't know. We just like really looked at, we were just kind of sitting down one day and like kind of like battling, putting ideas at each other. And, Vicia is one of the most common cover crops that farmers use to put nutrients into the soil in the Midwest. And it sounded beautiful. It's actually, it's vetch is the real name. I didn't think vetch would go over that well. So Vicia is the Latin name for vetch. And it's a beautiful name. And I think it's a real true testament to what we want to do and a meaningful name to what our restaurant stands for. It's it's all about farmers and connecting with them and their product, but also doing it in a organic, sustainable way.
Well, I want to wish you good luck tonight. I guess that's okay to wish good luck.
Absolutely.
Right. Catherine and Matt from Sauce Magazine and Michael Galena talking to us from Chicago ahead of the James Beard Foundation Awards, where he's nominated tonight for Best Chef Midwest. Best of luck to you. This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio, 90.7 KWMU.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, saluting Earth Day on April 22nd with an ongoing commitment to help offset carbon emissions with sustainable harvesting of Missouri forests. Details at choosewood.com. The Gateway brings you the day's news from the St. Louis region and across Missouri. It also includes stories from the Illinois side of the river and our Metro East reporter, Will Bauer.
In Alton, in Belleville, in East St. Louis, in Edwardsville, in Cahokia Heights, at Scott Air Force Base, I'm Will Bauer, St. Louis Public Radio.
Listen to reports from Will and all of our journalists weekdays on The Gateway, on the STLPR app, and wherever you get podcasts.